right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Another murky night with areas of fog where the lower visibilities could make driving difficult.
And tonight, deadline extended. If you were flooded out this summer, the new date to apply for emergency aid.
Get them on the road to repairs at their house. Get them on the road to maybe replacing their car.
But first, face to face. A big turnout tonight as St. Louisans get their first chance to meet the men vying to be the next police chief.
Tonight's town hall wrapped up about 2 hours ago at Vashon High School. Good evening, I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Ann Allred. Residents grilled the final four candidates on tackling crime and building community trust. Our Robert Townsend was there, and he joins us live. Robert, you said it was a good turnout.
It was a good turnout, Mike, and Ann, let me tell you this. Tonight, several hundred people actually turning out for this meeting. They packed the auditorium here at Vashon. They clearly wanted to hear from these finalists. Residents, business owners, clergy members, and others got a chance to see the four men who want to become St. Louis's next police chief. One at a time, each candidate answered several questions submitted online by nearly 800 citizens. Former Chief Robert Tracy from the Wilmington, Delaware Police Department was the first candidate to tell the crowd why he wants the job.
We have a process called CompStat. This is an accountability that ties all the strategies together.
Norfolk, Virginia Chief Larry Boone has 33 years of experience.
After 5 years, total crime reduced 25%.
Columbia, South Carolina's Deputy Chief Melron Kelly said his 23 years of experience will help him build community trust and reduce juvenile crime.
But we need to spread the message that in our city it's enough.
Interim Police Chief Michael Sack told the crowd being a St. Louis native, his 28 years of experience, and his ability to help reduce the city's crime rate by 5% all qualify him to be the city's new chief.
So there are individuals in our community who do not trust us, and I understand that. And how do we build that trust? One person at a time.
Each candidate is well aware that as of Monday, there were 183 homicides in St. Louis, 136 juveniles shot, 18 of the young victims died. Reporters did not get a chance to ask the candidates any questions. So how did residents weigh the police chief finalists?
I think there were a lot of great answers. I wish the questions would have been a little bit more challenging and maybe more opportunity for community input.
I thought that each of the candidates brought something different to both like their potential role for our city as well as to their responses to the questions.
Now tonight, a man and a woman shouted at Chief Sack during his remarks. The man walked out of the town hall. The woman eventually quieted herself down. Now the city plans to pick its next police chief by the end of the year. Live in North City, I'm Robert Townsend. 5 on your side.
Right now, a blanket of fog is covering the entire St. Louis region. Look at that. You can see the St. Louis Arch from our roof cam. You can't see it at all.
Over in Old Town Florissant, the steeple lights at Sacred Heart are glowing in the fog. So will this fog be here in the morning when you get ready for work? Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell joins us with the Weather First forecast.
And it will be, but for most of the metro area, we don't think the visibilities are going to be all that bad. The greater chances of seeing the thicker fog outside of the metro area. All the visibilities right now around Metro St. Louis are pretty close to 3/4 of a mile, up to about 2.5 miles. You do have a half-mile visibility in Scott Air Force Base. That's still not enough to where you really have to slow down. It's when it gets to 1/4 of a mile, like what we're seeing right now down towards Rolla, that you have to slow down. Use those low beams and give yourself a little bit of extra time. The dense fog advisory was in effect for Rolla initially. Now it's been extended farther east to include Potosi and Ironton, Fredericktown, as well as Farmington, St. Genevieve, and over towards Chester, Illinois. By the way, this evening, a 2.5 magnitude earthquake just east of Kimmswick, down along the Mississippi River, south of St. Louis. Some of you may have felt that. Not a big deal. It's a very small one. We'll see in a few minutes. We'll talk about the next big rain system that moves our way.
Tonight, a 2-year-old child is being treated for serious injuries after being hit by a car that drove off. It happened just before 5 tonight in the 2400 block of North and South Road. That's between St. Charles Rock Road and Midland. We're told the child is expected to live. Tonight, police are looking for a white Pontiac Grand Am or Grand Prix.
Tonight, St. Louis police are investigating a shooting at a high school. It happened this afternoon on the school grounds of Confluence Prep Academy in downtown West. Just minutes ago, we learned from a police source that a 20-year-old woman started a fight with a 17-year-old student. The student was shot in the hand. Security detained the suspect, and she was taken away by police. Tonight, 3 former St. Louis aldermen are headed to federal prison following an undercover sting. A judge sentenced John Collins Muhammad, Lewis Reed, and Jeffrey Boyd to each serve at least 3 years behind bars.
New tonight, our political editor Mark Maxwell has reaction from the feds and defense attorneys.
I think it's a sad day for the city of St. Louis.
A federal judge sentenced former Board of Aldermen President Lewis Reed and Alderman John Collins Muhammad each to 45 months in prison, and Alderman Jeffrey Boyd to 36 months in a sentencing hearing Tuesday afternoon.
We all need to trust the government that is here to serve our needs.
The defense attorney for Collins Muhammad said his client lacked maturity and fell for the quick cash. Collins Muhammad was caught on camera and later admitted to taking $19,500 in cash bribes and gifts like a phone and free car.
We just hope that someday the citizens of St. Louis will remember some of the good works that he did and not just his conduct in this case.
Collins Muhammad's attorney argued in court he's not sure sending corrupt politicians to prison would stop other politicians from engaging in corruption in the future. The judge didn't buy it.
Part of the basis for his sentence is to deter others in similar elected official positions in positions of power not to do this, not to commit these types of corruption crimes.
Former Alderman Jeffrey Boyd told the judge he battled PTSD and alcoholism after a military career. Boyd remained silent after his sentence. Reed told the court and the people of St. Louis he takes full responsibility for his actions.
Mr. Reed is a special individual. He made a mistake, he owned it, and I have no doubt that he will rise like a phoenix from these ashes and continue to do great things for the city.
Still, questions persist about the origin of the undercover operation.
I never was able to learn why he specifically was targeted. We know that there were several politicians targeted in this case.
The FBI never sets people up.
Defense attorneys pointed out an FBI informant offered the bribes, and while the politicians did accept them, they didn't start out demanding them. The FBI suggested they already had evidence allowing them to go undercover in the first place.
Particularly in corruption cases, we have to have some evidence that the subjects are predisposed to that conduct before we can engage in that.
The judge's sentence held these defendants accountable for their criminal conduct.
And with that, federal prosecutor Hal Goldsmith goes 3 for 3 in this case, landing convictions and jail time for all 3 politicians convicted with corruption. But could there be more to come? Public official A is still yet unknown. Listed in that original indictment, we asked the prosecutor, is this investigation ongoing or is the case closed? He wouldn't answer directly, leaving open the possibility an investigation could still be underway. Reporting downtown, Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.
In a statement, Mayor Tashara Jones said the court held the 3 men accountable for their crimes, adding city agencies have already taken steps to reform past practices and increase transparency in development work to help prevent abuse in the future.
Tonight, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed the amended SAFETY Act into law. Starting January 1st, Illinois becomes the first state in the nation to abolish cash bail. But last week, the state legislature approved changes to the law following backlash. The amended bill allows judges to keep felony suspects who are a flight risk or a danger to the community behind bars. States' attorneys challenging this law get their day in court this week.
The clock is ticking for Metro East residents to get flood assistance after that historic flooding this summer.
Those impacted have 2 weeks to get applications in, and our Laura Barcheski shares information from the first of 2 final town halls to answer questions. Laura?
Mike and Ann, neighbors tell me tonight there are still a lot of questions, and while some of them have received help, it's still not enough.
Is your house safe to live in right now?
It's leaning to one side. I need foundation work. I've been there 69 years. Where am I going? I'm almost 70. Where am I going? So this is what I have to go through at the age of 1 foot on the banana peel and the other one in the grave.
69-year-old East St. Louis resident Sheila Crook says this summer's flooding gutted her house on Cleveland Avenue and she needs more help.
Roof damage inside, the water came through the basement, hot water tank I had to replace. It was just a mess. All my insulation is gone. So I'm running the electric bill up, the gas bill up. And it's just a shame.
Greg Nimmo with Illinois Emergency Management Agency says they've gotten a lot of questions about what all they can cover.
The money that comes from FEMA through disaster response and individual assistance is not to make people whole, but it's to get them on the road to rent assistance, get them on the road to repairs at their house, get them on the road to maybe replacing their car, that type of thing.
Tiana Suber with FEMA says it's important to apply for everything you possibly can, including small business administration loans, which you don't have to have a business to qualify for.
Once you finish that application, return it to SBA, you can come to FEMA, but if you do not, it halts the application process. And I think people are missing out on the other needs assistance because they are not finishing that SBA application.
The deadline to apply for help is now December 22nd. Along with disaster recovery centers, there is another town hall in East St. Louis on December 8th at New Bethel Missionary Baptist Church. And
breaking news out of Georgia right now. NBC is projecting Democrat Raphael Warnock will keep his seat in the U.S. Senate. He has a slight lead over Republican Herschel Walker in tonight's runoff election, and that means Democrats will have a 51-49 majority in the Senate.
They answered the call to a horrific quadruple murder. Now they're partners in recovery.
As time went on, things for me just progressively got worse.
Tonight, an I-Team exclusive. Two former police officers share their struggle and how they're trying to move forward. Home for the holidays.
Look at my room.
The surprise gift Super Bowl champion Kurt Warner provided for one local family today.
There's not much sunshine in the Weather First 10-day forecast. We're timing out the next round of rain with Futurecast.
Tonight, Richard Emery is on death row at the Potosi Correctional Center. A judge sentenced him to death last month for killing his girlfriend, her two children, and her mother. Many first responders are still trying to cope with the trauma they experienced that night.
Two officers who got into a shootout with Emery opened up to the I-Team's Christine Byers in an exclusive interview. A warning, this story contains never-before-seen body camera footage and 911 audio from that shooting, which may not be suitable for some viewers.
911, where's emergency?
It was the call that ended their careers.
He shot us. He's meeting us up shooting.
A woman, her two children, and her mother had been shot and killed by her ex-boyfriend. And it was up to officers Kyle Schmidt and Jeremy Bratton to stop the man who did it.
Hands out the window now!
You know, we're investigating a shots fired, no response from the caller anymore. And he drives like he's just out for a drive.
Bratton had 17 years on the force when it happened. Schmidt, just 5 months.
As quickly as I could decide what I needed to do, he was out of the truck and sprinting towards Jeremy.
It was all hell broke loose. It was just loud booms. I described it as like a cannon going off next to your head. And at the same time, I'm hearing tink, 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 and it takes me a moment to realize that's my door. You know, that's what's the rounds hitting my door.
Bratton took cover behind his car, thinking about what his family might read about him should he be killed.
I wanted my kids to know that I just didn't give up.
Both officers returned fire and then ran to each other.
My hit.
He had white flecks all down the front of his uniform, which was paint from the bullets striking his door.
You got us covered. Let me check him.
Emery darted into the woods. 2 of Bratton's bullets had hit him. Still, Emery managed to carjack and stab a woman almost a mile away.
It really was by the grace of God that she lived.
Feelings of failure crept in.
It was extremely shameful. I mean, you feel like your job is to stop a person like this.
Both tried returning to duty.
As time went on, things for me just progressively got worse.
There was definitely times of suicidal thoughts.
You also shouldn't have to talk yourself into going to work every time you get in your car thinking this could be it.
Eventually, both officers resigned.
It was a relief, but that didn't mean like the struggles didn't stop.
Neither officer could sleep, and both ended up in Alyn McManus's chair. She's with the Missouri Crisis Intervention Team. Her goal? Helping them process the trauma by mimicking sleep.
In a traumatized state, certainly the brain is not going to achieve REM sleep.
She uses tools like light bars and hand buzzers to help clients move their eyes like they do during sleep.
So we actually invite the brain purposefully into that space while we're bringing up the material that is traumatic for that individual.
And no longer a dark place to go. They were skeptical at first.
We sit down and she throws these devices in my hands and she's like, all right, now hold on to these and we're going to talk.
They were also desperate for help.
We're trained to put up with a lot and to not show fear and to not need help and to make the best out of any situation. But when that's not working, you have to try an alternative method.
The officers led our cameras in a recent session where they focused on moving forward.
What does all that tempt you to want to believe about yourself and your world right now?
That I'm not capable of correcting it or not worthy of being at peace from it.
Bratton now works for a school district's transportation division, Schmidt for the IRS. New careers and new hope from McManus is what helps them heal. Schmidt says he holds on to what she told him during their first session when he asked her if she thought he could overcome his fears.
The simple answer is we don't know. We're not going to know until we find out, but we have tools to deal with it.
For the I-Team, Christine Byers, 5 on your side.
Now, the type of therapy the former officers are using is called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or EMDR. To learn more about how it is also used for other trauma, PTSD, and child abuse victims, you can look for this story at KSDK.com.
A local mom and her kids now have a home for the holidays, and they have a Super Bowl champion to thank. Today, this single mama too walked into her new, fully furnished home. She bought her first home with the help of Habitat for Humanity, and Kurt Warner's First Things First Foundation helped make it their dream home.
This means so much to me. All the hard work, all the dedication, and everything that we put towards buying this home, it has finally come to an end, and I'm just so grateful.
We do remember, our first night in our first home. We had no furniture, we had nothing to put in it, but we laid down some blankets, and it was my wife and I and our 2 kids, and we just thought, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of something special.
Over the last 20 years, Warner's Foundation has provided 24 St. Louis families with a fully furnished home. And they also decorated it for Christmas, put up a nice big tree. So I hope you have a very Merry Christmas in your new house.
And we're so lucky to have Kurt and Brenda Warner still doing it for St. Louis.
And they don't forget what they came from.
Right, after all these years. All right, Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell joins us now with our weather first forecast. It is murky out there.
It is. We still have some fog around. This morning we had dense fog in spots. This evening, it's still foggy. You're looking out over at Lambert. The airport not as clear as perhaps you'd like to see it. But you know what? Most of the flights today, we did not see big delays out at Lambert. By the way, in case you missed it earlier, we had that earthquake down here pretty close to Kimmswick, just east of Kimmswick. Earlier this evening, it's a very small earthquake, a 2.5. A few folks did feel it, though. There are some reports that it was felt, but it's not enough to cause any damage. On the radar scope, pretty much a clean sweep, even though we are seeing the mist out there and still some drizzle. The substantial rain, anything that's going to accumulate, we only had a couple of hundredths of an inch today, that's going to stay south and east of us. We're kind of looking back to the west at the action that's coming on shore in California. That's the energy we'll deal with here as we head into Thursday. A lot of moisture coming out of the Pacific across Mexico and into Texas. That gets fed into this next system, so it should be a little bit wetter for us as we head into Thursday. Now, as far as your visibilities go, when it gets below a quarter of a mile or at a quarter of a mile like we have in Rolla, that's when you really have to slow down because you can't see and you've got to add extra time to your travels. The biggest problems are likely to be to the south and southwest of St. Louis overnight through early tomorrow morning, the dense fog advisory to our south. So low beams, it's foggy in St. Louis shore. We can still see the arch, and a lot of it is just off the ground, the really thick stuff. 47 degrees right now at Lambert. Temperatures have been holding about steady this evening. We picked up a couple of hundredths of an inch of rain now at Lambert with the drizzle and the patchy showers. Areas of fog tonight. Temperatures won't drop much. They'll hold nearly steady. We are socked in with the clouds again tomorrow. Can't get rid of them, but the fog should ease in the morning. Temperatures back into the low 50s tomorrow. Steadier rain starts to move in as we push towards Thursday morning. Again, this system will have more moisture with it, so it should produce a good ½ inch to an inch of rain farther south of St. Louis. But by Thursday afternoon, it's scattering out. So most of the steadier rain morning into the midday hours. And then by the time we get to Thursday night and Friday, that system is pushing away. Unfortunately, the clouds not really in any hurry to leave as we head into the upcoming weekend. A couple more disturbances could give us a spot shower or two Saturday or Sunday, but it's really heading into next week, Monday and Tuesday, when we'll deal with another round of rainfall.
All right, Scott, thank you. Here's Frank.
And a great night in New York for the Blues and the Illini, not so great for the Billikens. And are the Cardinals about to spend some money with the catching position? Stick around. Look, when you have lost 6 out of your last 7, browbeating your team may not be the way to go. They are grown men and are accomplished hockey players. So check out the Chief before tonight's game with the Islanders. He was an encouraging fellow on the bench before the puck was dropped. And watch at the end here, a little sign of the cross right there from Vladdy. See that? So they asked for help, and they got it from Josh Levo. His first goal as a member of the Blues, 1-0 note. Ivan Barbashev had the big turnover last night. Tonight, he had the big one-timer. 2-1 Blues. For the second night in a row, Ryan O'Reilly with the great effort. Look at the rebound goal, 3-1 note. And Colton Parayko got in the act late for his first goal of the season. The Blues end the 4-game losing streak with a 7-4 win. Travis Ford and the Billikens were also in the Big Apple. And they weren't there to shop either. He was there to beat the man who taught him so much, Rick Pitino, the Hall of Fame coach at Iona. And apparently Pitino didn't teach Travis everything. Iona basically led from start to finish. End of the half, Bills were sloppy. Danish Jenkins will get the steal and dunk. Iona up 13 at the break. Travis was so ticked off he got a technical. Billikens tried to stay in it. Gibson Jimerson with 3 of his team high, 15 points. Coach Pitino would not let up on the gas pedal. Nope, they were hitting threes at the end of the shot clock. Sluis smashed 84-62. Pitino has won 19 in a row at home. Everybody was in New York. Brad Underwood and the Illini facing number 2 Texas in the Garden. Love his passion for the game. Down 5, 33 seconds to play. Jaden Epps hits the 3. Later, the freshman hit 2 free throws to send the game into overtime. In OT, Terrence Shannon Jr. got his mojo working. The Illini with a big win in the Big Apple over Texas, 85-78 in overtime. From winter sports to the winter meetings in San Diego. The Cardinals did sign a minor league pitcher tonight, but I'm not sure anybody cares. John Mozeliak did say tonight he wasn't as confident today as he was on Monday that he would leave with a catcher. A lot of balls are in the air as we speak. The man who could fill the void is former Cubs catcher Wilson Contreras. He would provide offense at the catching spot. Ali Marmol revealed tonight the team's leadership committee recently met with Contreras and his reps in Florida. Contreras is a free agent who will command big money, $16 to $20 million a year. The Cardinals can't afford it. The other option at catcher could be Sean Murphy of the A's. Hey, UNLV just hired Barry Odom as the new head football coach. The former Mizzou coach has been the defensive coordinator at Arkansas the last 3 seasons. Odom went 25-25 at Mizzou, where he was a terrific linebacker at one time for Mizzou, and he coached under Gary Pinkel. Speaking of Pinkel, he was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame tonight. Yes, the winningest coach in Mizzou and Toledo history is in. At Mizzou, 10 bowl appearances, 5 division titles. What were Pinkel's initial goals at Mizzou?
Well, my goal was just to win enough games, keep my job. But at the end of the day, I am deeply honored. And as I mentioned before, as football coaches, it's about everybody else around me. And there's a lot of people that we worked together. And my job is just to bring it all together.
And he really did bring it all together. That banquet is going on as we speak. We hope to hear some notes from his speech tomorrow night at 5 or 6.
Back to the Cardinals and their situation with catcher. Is that likely to happen tomorrow, Contreras or Murphy, or might this be extended?
Well, as John Mozeliak thought, he was going to leave San Diego with a catcher. He may not think that right now. Look, within the next week or so, they're going to have a catcher. I just don't know if it's going to happen before the winter meetings end tomorrow.
All right, Frank, thanks.